Hello, my name is Mali and I'm going to talk about chapter 3, the quiet family years. Life for the royal family continued without any serious problems while Prince Charles and Princess Anne growing up. Um, the queen was very busy with her official work, but also she made time for the family and for the house. And in 1960 and 1964, she had two more children, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. The queen often had to travel around the world, and often Prince Philip went with her. In 6 months, they traveled from Bermuda to Jamaica, New Zealand, Australia, and Sri Lanka. But the children didn't usually travel with their parents, but in 1953, Prince Charles and Princess Anne, um, had uh, short trip on the first official journey um, in a royal ship, the Britannia. This boat was very expensive and beautiful, and it was the favorite for the royal family, and it was like a palace at sea, and they could hold formal parties in it. The queen made time for country life too. The children grew up with horses and dogs, with fishing and shooting and other country sports. But they could never be exactly like ordinary children. In their early lives, Anne and Charles had nurses and private teachers, um, and on an ordinary day, um, they saw their parents only for an hour or two, and sometimes they didn't see their parents for months when they were away on tours. And um, Anne and Charles learned how to be very polite, and they said please to their dogs. Elizabeth and Philip finally decided to send them to school. When Charles was 9, he was sent to team school, and he came home only in the holidays. At first, he was very unhappy because at his home he was very special, but at school he was just a boy like many others. Later, he went on to the Gordonstone School in Scotland, his father's old school, but he didn't like to stay there because the morning began with a run and a wash in cold water, and the day was full of exercise, lessons, and jobs. It was like a military school. Um, he wanted to leave it, but he couldn't. He took his final examinations and went to Cambridge University, and some students were angry because Charles didn't do very well in his school examinations. But most people were glad that their future king was studying at university. Anne was so different. She was happy to go away to school to Venenden in Kent. Um, um, she soon learned to enjoy her new life. She could ride horses, and she practiced dancing, she sang, and made pots. Later, Princess Anne became a successful horse rider, and she won many cups at important shows such as the Olympic Games in 1976. And also began to help a charity which offers horse riding to children with special problems. And in 1973 she married another horse rider, Mark Philip. Andrew and Edward were much younger than Charles and Anne, and their lives were less public. Andrew went into the Navy like his father. He was a fun-loving young man, and he enjoyed the life at Gordonstown School more than Charles. Edward, like Charles, went to Cambridge University and studied history. He tried the life of a soldier too, but he didn't like it. He preferred the theater and the television, and he is polite and quiet, and he keeps his life in private. In the 1960s, the life in Britain changed suddenly. There were new ideas, new clothes, and new pop music, and to young people, the royal family seemed boring. So the queen decided that she had to make some changes, and in 1969, television cameras came into the royal home and filmed the family and the private life for the first time. 40 million people watched the program, and this brought the royal family closer to the people, but also it helped to make some future problems, because the public wanted to see more and more, and it was harder to keep the reporters out. The royal family were less safe in a changing world too. For example, in 1969, Prince Charles became Prince of Wales, and not everyone in Wales wanted to have a prince from London. So many bombs um, went off at that time. Then in 1974, a man with a gun stopped armed cars in the center of London and tried to take her away. And one morning in 1982, Queen Elizabeth woke up and found a man in her bedroom. Um, Nobody was hurt, but it was so dangerous. Okay, that's all in this chapter, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.